God is dead. The German, I believe it would be Gott ist tot. And these are probably the most famous words in philosophy. I think probably everyone's heard them. I heard them for the first time when I was 13, 14. It was actually a devout Christian that introduced me to this passage of the madman, and he said, don't worry, you can still believe in God, because Nietzsche had a breakdown at the age of, I think it was 44, 45. And I'm always wary of Nietzsche because everyone has an opinion on Nietzsche. No, Nietzsche meant this, Nietzsche meant that. And I don't know if it's really that complicated. I think maybe because it's so accessible and simple, 3 words, Gott ist tot, that people try to overcomplicate it. So let's have a look at it. There's obviously a lot to say on Nietzsche. 500-600 page works are written by great philosophers on him. So I will try to do a 5 or 6 minute video. God is dead. So God exists in a certain state of being or not being, which suggests there was once a God. God remains dead. He's not coming back. And we have killed him. So this is sort of an interesting transition. What is it that we've done to kill God? A lot of thinkers and historians say, well, it's the scientific revolution, the Darwinism, evolution, industrialization, the French Revolution. And this is true to an extent. It's also a philosophical question, though. It's the move, the Copernican turn, Descartes, from the realm, the true realm of ideas, as Plato would call it, the realm of the forms, to man himself, this man, the subject. I think, therefore I am. Descartes, Kant, Hegel. What does it mean to be a person experiencing the world? And Nietzsche takes this question very seriously. And there's a degree to which he wants to almost abandon what we used to call the real world for this world. And he does this in his characteristically humorous and clever ways, but we can just do it in basic terms here. So that's how we killed God. We basically stopped caring about him. We stopped caring about Plato's forms, heaven, and we started to focus on this earth and what it means for us to be human and how we experience the world. And in the 20th century, Nietzsche didn't see it, but obviously the growth of psychotherapy, the growth of the New Age, religious movements, everything becomes more about you, and the communal starts to exit the stage. So now that's perhaps how we comfort ourselves. Nietzsche is also writing in the period of political upheavals. There's the French Commune. He was on the front lines, I believe, in the Franco-Prussian War. There's the burgeonings of socialism, communism, still very early. Liberalism, of course, the idea of the last man, the idea that we can just get enough stuff and be happy and we don't have to do anything anymore. So this is it. We can comfort ourselves with these things, but they're all very fleeting. What was the holiest and mightiest of all that the world has yet owned has bled to death under our knives? Who will wipe the blood off of us? So there's no longer, we are all responsible for ourselves now. Without a God, everything we do that's a mistake we have to own. You can't go to confession. But there's also a question of meaning, a question of where we can turn. What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement shall we have to invent? Again, selfism, sort of, you could say, football, politics, all these things become all-consuming, and they become a placeholder for religion. Now, obviously, there still are Christians. There still are churches. And Nietzsche seems to suggest this in his work, that the shadow of God will last for a long time. But again, God is dead means there was a God, and by this he means obviously the world of ideas, and now man has to face the cold, hard world of reality. Is not the greatness of this deed too great for us? And this is sort of a question that Nietzsche is going to dedicate the next, this is from 1882, The Gay Science, The Joyful Wisdom. I think he writes another edition of it in 86, but he's going to spend basically a decade trying to figure out what we are meant to do after this deed, and he doesn't get to complete it. There's a work called The Will to Power, which there are hints of, but it's heavily criticized because of its associations with National Socialism, Nazism, Elizabeth Forst and Nietzsche. So that's unfortunate, but there are some gems in there. Must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it? And this becomes sort of the idea of the Übermensch. And the Übermensch doesn't mean some big burly guy or even a tank or a jet. It's the individual that bears the weight of this responsibility. It's the individual that Nietzsche believes can create out of themselves. Nietzsche says that we create art. Art has more value in it than the truth. So what does art mean for Nietzsche? Not necessarily just painting. It means the will to move outside of ourselves, to confront ourselves. And in this, he comes up with, obviously, the eternal return, which is another passage that we'll wait for another day. But Christianity, Nietzsche believes, is a nihilistic religion. Ironically, because he's often accused of being a nihilist, that we must focus on this earth and therefore there are no values. But Nietzsche actually says no. It's our job now to create the values. How do we judge a value? There's no arbiter of truth. There's only that which we can create, and the constant will to create, moving towards the will to power. So these are questions you have to approach Nietzsche, because everyone will tell you, Nietzsche really meant this. Nietzsche really meant this. Nietzsche really meant that. He'll be used by the left. He'll be used by the right. He'll be used by the center. He'll be used by capitalists. He'll be used by communists. He'll be used by pacifists. He'll be used by militarists. So it's important to take your time. This is a deceptively simple quote.